So welcome, my name is Bryan McKay. I am the practice lead for Cloud Search with Onyx, and with me is Elie Mélois. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good. So Elie is actually the technical genius here, and he's going to run the demo. I'm just going to run the slides. But together, we've got actually something really exciting that we want to show you and discuss with you this afternoon. I think you're going to be surprised. You're going to see a really interesting surprise. So, like I said, my name is Bryan McKay. I am the practice manager for Cloud Search with Onyx. We have been in the search business since 2002. We were one of the early partners back in the day when just the GSA was around. So we've been in search for a long time. Since then, we've grown significantly. We resell and implement pretty much all of Google's products and services. And you'll notice up there that we are also a 3-time North American partner recipient. All right, so let's get started. So the thing about search is, if you were to ask your users, ask your customers, ask your users, they'll all tell you the same thing. They'll probably tell you search in the enterprise isn't all that good. They will tell you they want search, they need search, and they'll probably also tell you this one thing. They want search to be like this. This is what everybody wants. And this is actually what we're here today to take a look at, is sort of the next evolution of a number of interesting things in cloud search. So today's session was, I should say, the inspiration behind today's session was actually the launch of Cloud Search last summer. I really can't see all the rows here, but how many people attended the launch last year at Cloud Next? A number of people? A few people in the audience. So if you were there, you heard me talk about Whirlpool. I was up on stage with Whirlpool and with Andy Lewis from Whirlpool, but you also saw a demo, and that was the first thing you would have seen. And it was a demo that Elie provided up on stage. So two things were happening there. One, we had just finished the project with Whirlpool. We had the opportunity to do some usability studies with their engineers. We got some incredible feedback about the product and the work that we had done. But we also learned some really important insights, areas where we can improve. We heard loud and clear from the users that when it comes to enterprise search, they kind of struggle. They really do struggle. They think more like typing a query in a database as opposed to typing into a search bar. And when we did ask them, well, hey, what if you could ask that as a question? They all said, of course, it's what they want to do. It's just like Google. And so a number of us and some of the folks at Google took that to heart. And so the key there is that we learned a lot of users really just want to be able to submit their query like they're asking a question. That's the Google experience. The other thing that happened shortly after that, when Elie was up on stage, is he did a demo where they had taken a number of images and indexed those images and then added the metadata to the search engine, and then they were able to go out and search for images of people having fun. Those two things combined are the inspiration for this session right here. So we know that users want it. Elie and his team took images where we have no metadata and they indexed those things and put them in the index and made it searchable. And you could suddenly find images of people having fun. And so take those two things together, that's what we want to do. And that's part of what we want to show you today, is the ability to just submit your query like you're asking a question. Show me pictures of people having fun. So that's the inspiration, and that is, like I said, part of what we're going to show you. Just in case, now the slides, I'm told, will be made available, so just in case anybody wants a refresher, there's a link here. So once they're available, you'll be able to go back and have a look at the video, watch the demo again. So what we're going to cover today in this session is, number one, search is hard. Enterprise search specifically is hard. So we're going to talk a bit about why it's so hard in the enterprise. And then we're going to talk about how to go about solving that problem and how to solve it at scale, and how to enrich the metadata that we're adding to the index. And then Elie is going to do his demo. And like I said, there's a very special surprise in there. And then we're going to wrap up. I've got a couple of slides to close, and then we're going to have a Q&A. So first, enterprise search is hard. It is really, really hard. And here are some of the reasons why. So first of all, When people in the enterprise are searching, they are typically searching for a single document, a specific document, something that they know is out there, and they may not know where it is, but it's a single artifact. They may also be searching for a collection of documents. They know that there is a collection of stuff out there that's going to help them with whatever. It could be a project they're working on. At Whirlpool, for example, the use case was somebody needed to find a collection of lab reports on a specific topic so they could establish a baseline for testing a new version of the product. So as an example, there's a collection of documents. And the other thing that people search for quite often is a question. All of us, as we go about our day, excuse me, and we're doing our work, we have questions. When we have questions, we want to get answers. And so a search engine is often a place where we go, or would hope to go, or would like to go, or would like to actually trust that we can go there and get an answer to a question. At Whirlpool, one of the folks there brought up a few questions. One of them was a question based on some other research that they knew was done, but the question was, how do I prevent deformation due to frost buildup, in a freezer door, I think was the question. He knows there's a document out there that actually has that content. So there's an example where there's a question, there's a known answer out there, and that's really what he's looking for. He wasn't looking for the document, he's looking for the answer. The other thing that people search for quite commonly is other people. So sometimes we're trying to find documents, sometimes answers, and just as often we're trying to find other people, people to work with. People on this team over here, you're working on a project, you need to know who can help me sort out these firewall rules. But because you don't do that every day, you don't know who those people are. So people often look for other people to help them with whatever they're doing. And those are the most common use cases in the enterprise. We're going to focus mostly on finding a specific document or finding a collection of documents. But in the future, and maybe this is next year's session, is the whole notion of answering a question. Oh, and the other thing I should mention, who was at the session earlier today, the session at I think 12:45? Giant, Missouri, he's the product manager. One of the things that he said is there's a new people search component, the cloud search, that is now generally available. Sorry, it's not generally available, it's in beta. So he introduced that. Go ahead. So if you've ever sat down and thought about when you are actually searching for something, because myself and a Googler had a chance to do this at Whirlpool, when you sit down and you really look at how you search when you're searching for something, this is probably what you'll come up with. Or if you are observing other users when they're searching, this is what you would come up with. And the first thing is the user has a question. They start to formulate the question. They know what it is they're looking for. And they think about what that question is that describes what they're looking for. In this case, lab results for blender noise tests from last year. So an engineer is looking for that baseline, test results from tests that were conducted last year. But then, here comes the challenge. Now they're sitting in front of a search bar. Their context is the enterprise. They're accustomed to searching in database type systems. And so they're trying to formulate that query, but they're really formulating a database query. They're not really formulating a query for a search engine or just a keyword search. They start thinking about, what are the filters I need, et cetera, et cetera. More like an advanced type search if you ever used advanced search. So they struggle with that. And then they put that in the search bar. And then they get some kind of results back. Maybe the results they're looking for, it may not be the results they're looking for, it may be some of the results, it may be, one result on every page for 30 pages, whatever that is. And then they have to go and evaluate, did I find the results I'm looking for, and start paging through results. They may go 3 pages, 4 pages, and realize I don't have everything. So then they start filtering. And so now they want to start filtering on dates and different, it could be content source, it could be whatever, to try and narrow down the results to make sure that they have found exactly what they're looking for. And then hopefully they have confidence in what they're really looking for. So that's the typical search experience. That's what people do. And again, to use the example from Whirlpool, what we learned from those folks is that's not what they want to do. They just want to type it into the search bar. They just want to ask that question. And whatever it is they're really looking for, they just want it to show up right there on the screen, center of the screen. So here's a few other challenges that we see in enterprise search. The one in particular is that when somebody is searching, there's no guarantee that they're searching for the words that are actually in a document. Or to think about it differently, when somebody creates a document, they don't really think about how someone's going to search for it. Right? Their job is to create a document. And when somebody is searching for something, they know that there's some document out there that deals with this topic, for example, or is going to help them solve a problem. It's not like they know the words that are in that document. They don't know how it's actually filed and cataloged and everything else. And so there's a mismatch. There's a mismatch between the words that people use when they're searching and the words that are actually in a document. Synonyms, topics, concepts versus the actual content. Think of it, and if you look at it this way in terms of the example, we've got noise tests and vibration tests, right? Conceptually, to an engineer, those two things are the same thing. Vibrations produce noises. Those are really the same thing. So some will search for noise tests, some will search for vibration tests, and then the other thing is noise and vibration study is another way that they could search for it, and it actually has an acronym, NVS. Right? So there's all these different words and terms and acronyms that people use to search for something that may or may not be in the document. That's a challenge. In a search engine, if the words aren't in the document, you're never going to find the document. The other is formulating queries. So like I had said earlier, users in their mind, they have a question. They know what they're looking for. Structuring that is a challenge. Right? It's not an intuitive thing to do. They just want to ask their question. And lastly, and this one I think is really important, all of us go to work with the expectation that we're going to have that Google-like experience. Right? So we go home, we search a certain way, we go to work, we hope that we can search that way, we wish that we can search that way, but nonetheless, we have that expectation. That's what people are really looking for. And when they do a search, what they want is, they just want to put in whatever they're looking for in the search bar, and whatever they're really looking for, somehow the machine just knows, here's what you're looking for, and it's on page 1, somewhere between 1 and 5. So the other problem that is really important here that I have to mention is scale, right? And it's scale in a couple different ways. So in the enterprise, we all work with more than one system. Some of us work with 4, it could be 6, it could be 10, it could be however many. The content that's in each of those systems is different. There's no guarantee that the metadata in any one of those is the same, it's structured the same. In fact, in the work that we do, over the years we've been doing it, we never encounter multiple systems where the metadata is all the same. We usually have to do something to normalize that. And so that's one type of problem. And the more content sources you have, guaranteed, the more problems, the more challenges there are going to be. The second challenge with scale is the sheer volume of documents. We work with one client, they had a use case, they showed us an example, we showed them what the problem was, we showed them that the user was searching for this, but the document didn't even have those keywords in it. Add the keywords, do a search, found the document, no problem. And then their question was, okay, great, now how do I do that with the other 3 million documents that I've got? And those are the kinds of problems that we see in the enterprise all the time, especially if you've got a lot of historical content. If there's a lot of historical content, and that's almost always the case, say, in an engineering organization, then there are going to be significant challenges with dealing with metadata, both in terms of the number of different sources, the age of a lot of that content, as well as just the sheer volume of it. And so this is a significant challenge. So to sum it up, there's a lot of challenges in the enterprise, but what people are really looking for is this kind of an experience right here. They want it to be intuitive. They want the ability to ask a question, just type it into the search bar. They want to know that when the results come back, the results actually match what they're really looking for. We call that intent. Relevance is also something that's extremely important. So when I say relevance, I mean a few things. I mean, number one, there's a notion of recall. Did the search engine find everything the person might be looking for? And then there's relevance. It's just a calculation to say this one might be the most relevant, and then sort them. But then there's another notion, and that is ranking. Which one does the search engine really think is going to be the most important for that particular user? So those things all add up, right? And so if you think about the typical experience on Google, somehow magically, the content is right there, page 1, somewhere between 1 and 5. So there isn't one more point that I should mention, and I said the word search bar, but I have to expand that idea, because it's not just a search bar anymore. There's all kinds of different ways to search, right? If you think about it, there's Assistant, for example, there's chatbots. So all of those things, I mean, the number of different ways that you can search is opening up. It's getting deeper and deeper. So the last thing, of course, is it's the Google magic. That's what people are really looking for. So now we're going to show you how to go about solving this problem at scale. So the first thing is knowing your users, really understanding. Sorry, I'm just going to back up for a second. When I said earlier that we started as an early Google Enterprise partner, so we've been implementing the GSA for a long, long time. And with the GSA implementation, in a lot of search engines, a lot of technologies, it's just a technology implementation. You spend more time thinking about how do I integrate with content sources, how do I deal with security challenges, how do I deal with SSO, how do I just give a user a list of search results? It's plumbing and mechanics. With cloud search and creating a great search experience, it's so much more. You really have to get in front of your users, get close to your users, and understand what they're really looking for, right? They're not just looking for search results. They're really looking for an answer to their question. They're looking for an answer to that specific question, and the results they want to see are the results to their question. So there's a lot of nuances there, right? So I'm going to show you in a few slides. But if I am asking for the question, show me lab results for blender noise tests from last year, that's kind of specific. It's kind of an engineering thing. But if I go back to the question at the beginning, which was show me pictures of people having fun, right? That one's subjective, right? As soon as I say fun, I mean pictures that I think are going to be fun, right? As opposed to some very objective measure. And so that's part of the understanding here, is that when you sit down with your users and you understand the intent, you also understand that when a user is asking that question, the answer is subjective. It's not objective. And so you have to have a number of different users that you're working with. You have to understand their intent when they put in a query. What are they really looking for? How do they want to see that come back? What's going to actually match that query or satisfy that query? And also to understand how they would think about filtering, right? What filters do they think needs to be there? What kinds of sorting mechanisms should there be? What kind of operators, et cetera? All of that combined is important information in determining what the ultimate search experience is going to be like. Now, so there's a key idea that I want to introduce here, and that is the whole notion of intent or search intent. So when users are searching, they are searching with intent. Now, on the top, in red, that is what the user would type in the search bar, assuming that the search bar can actually understand their question. That's what they would type in. On the bottom, this shows how the machine needs to analyze that query in order to actually produce the search result. And then the search result that's relevant and matches that query for that person is that picture on the right. So when the user types in, show me pictures of people having fun, that is really what they're looking for. The machine, of course, has no way of knowing that, but it needs to interpret the query, understand the intent, formulate the query, apply the filters, and bring back a picture of what appears to be a person having fun. So how do we know that's a picture of a person having fun? Well, in order to get to that point, it takes essentially building a pipeline, right, and applying machine learning. Right? This is where we now start taking additional services, Google Cloud services, to create a pipeline to analyze the content, extract metadata, add additional metadata, apply a taxonomy, et cetera, to enrich the content and improve the search experience. And Elie's actually going to walk through an example of this. And so if you think of a picture, you think of a photograph, right? It's kind of extreme, but it's the perfect example. There's no metadata with a picture. So the only way you can make it searchable is to have metadata, and that's where machine learning comes in. So the first part is, in terms of enriching the metadata of all the content that's out there in the enterprise, the first part is just extract and enrich, right? So many documents, they have information buried in there. It could be people, it could be places. So you want to apply machine learning to go and pull that out and attach it as metadata and do some classification based on some very standard things, right? And so you're looking for names, places, applying sentiment analysis. You think of documents, it could be emails. Is this an email from a happy customer? Is this an email from an angry customer? Do I need to take action on this thing? And then, of course, the other is document classification based on certain topics. And then once you've done that, the next step is, in a lot of organizations, there is a taxonomy of some sort, or there is industry standard terminology, or it could be company-specific terminology. And so you want to be able to apply those things to the documents to make it a lot easier for people to find them. And so, as an example, it could be a product hierarchy. Some companies have what's known as a folksonomy. So as people are working with different websites and search engines, they're tagging things, they're actually, over time, developing their own taxonomy, and naming conventions. Well, it's called a folksonomy. And so if you've got that, great, let's apply it. The last part is users, the difference between a user's terminology and, say, technical terminology and jargon. So when a lot of documents are written, they'll contain technical terminology or jargon, and what we want to do is find a way to convert that into terminology that people really use, right? And so in the healthcare business, they have certain codes that they talk about, they get written into health records. Well, in order to make it searchable to everybody, let's convert those into what people really talk about. Another one here is in the engineering world, noise and vibration studies. Well, if somebody calls it a noise test, but it's really an NVS or a noise and vibration study, if we see that, let's attach noise test so that everybody can find those documents. And so by using those services, we can now enrich the content in all of those documents and make them far more searchable. And when you string it all together into a pipeline, this is what it looks like. So you've got your images, load them into cloud storage, run them through the machine learning APIs, extracts the metadata, applies a taxonomy, does the translation, and then gathers all of that, puts it all back together as a JSON object, and then we use that and load that into Cloud Search. And so now, in this example, suddenly you have images that are searchable. So I'll go back. So that is small scale, right? That is large scale. There's really no limit. It really depends on the requirements of the use case, depends on the business problem. There's really no limits in terms of what you can do, because it's all about working with data, right? And it's all about helping our users and enriching that metadata and enriching the documents to help them find more answers to their questions. And so the pipeline can be as small as it needs to be to do the job, or it can be as large and sophisticated as the job requires. So now I'm going to turn it over to Elie for a little bit so that he can run through a demo. And like I said, he has a very special surprise.
Thank you. Thank you, Bryan. I have a few slides, so if you can come back on the slides just for a minute. Yeah, thank you. So, hi everyone, I'm Elie, CTO and co-founder of Flume. I'm very excited to be here today to present one of the newest features from Google Cloud Search. So, just a few words about Flume for those who don't already know us. So, as you can hear, it's a French company, but now with a global presence. It's a social and collaborative intranet. And it's trusted by leading organizations like Colgate-Palmolive, Electronic Arts, Logitech, Verizon Media, Airbus, Veolia, and much more. And our mission is to help companies turning their employees into smart leaders by giving them access to information and social knowledge. And to do that, we want first to connect all employees in a company. So desktop, mobile, people in the office, people on the field, people from home, everyone should be able to connect to get information. Then we communicate with people. So top-down communication, horizontal communication, personalized communication for all employees to access the right information. So connect, communicate, and finally, you empower people. And so you give them spaces to collaborate, and you provide them with insights and analytics to be able to turn them into leaders. So as a company, so it was originally founded in France, and now we have 6 offices all around the world. So we have 2 in France, Lyon, Paris, and London, New York, Austin, San Francisco, and Tokyo. It's a very innovative company. The product is fully developed internally, and we have more of half the total people of the company working on the product. We now have 150 employees all over the world. So it's a company that's scaling very fast. We have more than now almost 4 million employees using the product. And yeah, to help that scaling, we've just raised a Series B of 24 million. So just to explain quickly the vision that we have for the search engine, and it's very aligned with what Google Cloud Search offers today. So what we want to do is really assist the employees and giving them an experience where we first understand the questions that they are asking, and that will be something that will be in the demo. So it means understanding the natural language that they are using to ask a question. Then we want to analyze their behaviors and use machine learning to deliver a personalized experience to the users. And finally, this helps us assisting the employees and maybe even give them insights maybe before they even know what they are looking for. And so, yeah, the use case that I will be presenting today, so maybe some of you were there last year, so I will expand the demo from last year. So the demo is really about making sense of a picture database. So let's say you have a lot of corporate and marketing pictures, for instance. And what we want to do would be to search images based on resolution, colors, numbers of people, or even emotion, if we can. Bryan explained the benefits of enriching your data set with metadata to improve the search. And that's very important with pictures, because with picture, you only have a picture. And if you want to be able to search for pictures, you have to apply a set of metadata to your image. So let's see if that's something that we can do with Cloud Search. And so the demo that we will do today, actually it's Bryan who asked me to do it. And he said, last year when you explained this demo of showing pictures of people having fun, this was a starting point for me in all my next demonstration. And last year we were a bit frustrated because we were only able to demo like keyword search queries. And we've been working with the GCS team, and we'll see if we can do better, and we'll see if we can start to understand the questions that employees are asking. So, maybe we can switch to the demo now. Okay, so here it's a typical intranet created with Flume apps. And so here you get a Google-like search experience on top. And I will start by typing a very simple query. So I will look for images and refine my query on my marketing images dataset. So as you can see here, I have 40 results. And I promised a better demo than last year. So I will not limit myself to searching on keywords. So we will start right now introducing what we call query interpretation. And so here I will ask Cloud Search to provide me with all images created by Paul. And as you can see here on top, the query has been interpreted by the GCS engine. And we are now looking at pictures that have been taken by Paul. And here, as you can see, we have a metadata with the author of the picture. And the list has been filtered down to a list of 5 pictures taken by Paul. Okay, so now let's try to look for images by Paul from last month. So no results. So actually, this is not the demo effect, but there is like no results for this query. So this is perfectly normal. So we will try to look for pictures from the last 4 months, for instance. And here, as you can see, the query has been interpreted again. And here you have a date range that will look for pictures that have been posted for the last 4 months. And so here we have 4 images. And if I look only for images from this year, now I only have 2 pictures. So 2 pictures taken in January. And we can do something a bit more advanced by saying, I want, for instance, to print this picture. So I want it to be the highest resolution possible. And so now I will do images by Paul from this year sorted on resolution. And here, the engine will apply a sort order, which is based on the resolution of the picture. And so I would get pictures with the highest resolution first. And so here, as you can see, that's a query that you're basically asking a question to the system. So now another use case, let's say I want to publish a new picture on the homepage of my website. And I want it to be people communicating, for instance. So I want to find pictures of more than 2 people, for instance. And here it will look at the face count metadata that we have. So this has been, all the metadata here has been found by the Cloud Vision API. And so as you can see here, it's been interpreted as an integer, and it will filter results with more than 2 faces on the pictures. And if we want to publish it on the homepage of the website, and because we have an enterprise communication product, we want to show people communicating. So I want to see pictures of 3 people having a conversation. Here you go. So I was able to type like an advanced query, a question to the system, and the system was able to find a picture that is relevant for my query. That's cool, I guess. So let's say now I want to find, so last year at Google Next, we already did a demo, and some people took some pictures during the demo. And so let's say I want to find images of Google events from last year, for instance. And so here you would get pictures that were taken in 2018. And as you have OCR, so text recognition on the Cloud Vision API, it was able to pick up that Google thing. And as you have a lot of people, it was marked as a Google event. So just by looking at the picture, we were able to find that images which describe a picture of a Google event from last year. And so Bryan said I had a surprise for the end. So that will be the last thing I will be showing today. And I'm pretty sure that you have never seen something like this before. So don't be afraid. I'm not crazy, but I will try to talk to my intranet. So here on top, you can see that you have a microphone icon. And I will try to ask my question directly to the intranet and see if I can get good results. So I will put my hand in the air just to show that I'm not typing. And I will ask to show pictures of 3 people having fun. And here you go. You have your picture. And that, I believe, is really the future of search. And so thank you for the Google Cloud Search team for bringing such an awesome technology. If you can switch back to the slides, and I will finish in a minute. So just to show the actual pipeline that we used. So we uploaded all the pictures on cloud storage. Then we run them through the Cloud Vision API to extract the metadata from the set of picture. Then we stored all the metadata in Cloud Search. And we ran some queries using the query API directly from our portal. And the final part is the Chrome part, because the Chrome developers have been able to create a native voice recognition API that is resilient to French accent, and you have to give them credit for that. And so that's it for today. If you need more information, you can come by our booth. You can't miss it. I really want to thank the GCS team for letting us play with this new query interpretation feature for the last month. Thank you to my engineering team, because they've been able to build this demo, especially the search team. And thank you, Bryan, for challenging us this year.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.